Most fans know about Priscilla. Some remember Linda Thompson. A few know the name Ginger Alden. But almost no one knows about the woman Elvis Presley once called the only person who ever understood my soul. A woman he met long before fame. A woman he never spoke of publicly. A woman whose memory followed him all the way to his final night in Graceland. This is the untold, fictional, but deeply realistic story of the mystery woman Elvis could never forget. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why he kept her name hidden for nearly 30 years. In 1976, a full year before his death, Elvis began doing something unusual. Every night at 2 or 3 in the morning, long after the Memphis Mafia had gone to bed, after the last phone call had ended, after the crowd of Graceland had quieted, Elvis would walk into his private office, take out a small wooden cigar box, open it, and stare at a single photograph. A faded black and white picture of a young woman smiling on a dusty Tennessee roadside in the summer of 1955. He kept that photo hidden from the world, from the fans, from every woman he ever loved. Her name was Eleanor Grace McAllister, and Elvis never stopped thinking about her. July 1955. Elvis was 20 years old, unknown, broke, dreaming. He and Scotty and Bill were driving from Memphis to Jackson for a tiny show in a farm equipment barn when their truck overheated. They pulled over near a gas station in a sleepy little town called Cotton Ridge. And that's where Elvis saw her, a tall, auburn-haired girl wearing a sundress and fixing a broken Coca-Cola sign with a hammer too big for her hands. "Need help, ma'am?" Elvis asked shyly. She didn't look up. "Not unless you can make this stubborn thing stop falling." Elvis grabbed the sign, held it steady, and Eleanor finally turned toward him. She squinted at him. "Do I know you?" Elvis laughed. "No, ma'am, not yet." That was the beginning. They talked for 10 minutes, then 20, then an hour. For Elvis, who'd always felt misunderstood, restless, out of place, Eleanor was different. She was sharp, funny, and unimpressed by his singing thing. "You got a good voice," she said, "but you don't have to wiggle so much." Elvis blushed so hard, he almost dropped his guitar. They parted ways that afternoon, but Elvis left with something he'd never had before, a feeling of being seen. Over the next year, Elvis wrote Eleanor 23 letters, handwritten, heartfelt, filled with dreams and fears he shared with no one else. Not even his mama. Eleanor kept every letter in a shoebox under her bed, but she didn't tell a soul, because Eleanor had a secret of her own, a secret that would eventually change everything. One night, Elvis wrote, "Ellie, when I'm singing on those little stages, I look out at the crowd and pretend you're there. It makes me brave." Eleanor wrote back, "Don't waste your bravery on dreams of big stages. Be brave enough to be a good man." Even at 20, she understood what so many didn't. Elvis was destined for something huge, and he needed someone who kept him grounded, not dazzled. But here's where the story takes its turn. Eleanor wasn't just a small-town girl. Her father was a preacher in rural Tennessee, strict, disciplined, firmly against rock and roll and the temptations of fame. When he discovered Eleanor had been writing to Elvis, a rising star, a man he believed was bringing sin into the world, he made her choose her family or Elvis Presley. It was a moral dilemma that tore Eleanor apart. She wasn't just choosing between two men. She was choosing between two futures, two identities, two lives. And in 1956, with Elvis beginning the rise of a lifetime, Eleanor disappeared without a word. Elvis searched for her, between shows, between tours, between movie shoots. He wrote one final letter, "Ellie, if I did something wrong, tell me. Just don't leave me wondering. I can't stand not knowing." No reply ever came. In March 1957, Elvis returned to Cotton Ridge. But Eleanor was gone. Her family had moved without leaving a forwarding address. All that remained was the rusty Coca-Cola sign Elvis once helped her fix. He touched it and whispered, "Goodbye, Ellie." But he never forgot her. Not through the fame, the movies, the screaming crowds, the tours, the marriages, or the heartbreak. In the highest highs of his career and the lowest lows of his life, Eleanor's memory was the quiet ache he carried everywhere. 20 years later, 1976, Elvis was tired, sick, surrounded by people who took more than they gave. And one night as he sat with his cigar box, his accountant told him, "Elvis, you've donated more than $2 million to that anonymous charity in Tennessee. Do you realize that?" Elvis looked up quietly. "That's not charity," he said. "That's payback." Because in the late 1960s, Elvis had finally learned the truth. Eleanor's father had forced her to cut ties to protect her reputation. Not because she wanted to, but he didn't punish them. He didn't expose them. He didn't confront them. Instead, Elvis personally funded the town's medical clinic, their school music program, and their church restoration, all under an alias. His revenge was kindness, the kind that leaves a person speechless with guilt. It was smart revenge at its finest. In 1977, a reporter tried to track down Eleanor's family for an interview. He discovered something unexpected. Her father, the man who separated them, had fallen from grace in the community. A scandal, a broken reputation, a church that turned against him. People whispered that he had been too strict, too harsh, too unforgiving, exactly the traits that kept Elvis and Eleanor apart. Karma had come quietly, slowly, and without Elvis lifting a finger. He didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. He simply whispered, "Life has a way of fixing its own mistakes." 2 months before Elvis died, he received a plain envelope with no return address. Inside was a photograph, a woman in her 40s, standing on a porch with 2 children, and on the back, a handwritten note. "You were the kindest soul I ever knew. I never forgot you. I hope you didn't forget me. Eleanor." There was no phone number, no address, no explanation, just a message sent too late. Elvis showed the photo to no one, except, according to his cousin Billy, he stared at it in his final hours. The night Elvis died, searching Graceland, Billy Smith found something strange. On Elvis's bedside table was that same photograph of Eleanor, placed right next to his Bible, 2 great loves, side by side, one for heaven, one for earth. Elvis Presley died with millions of fans, but his final thoughts belonged to the woman he met before all the fame, the one woman who knew him before the world did, the mystery woman he could never forget. Do you think Eleanor was Elvis's true love, or was she simply the one that got away? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more untold stories from the lives of icons and legends.